I got another fight. It's Silva Zoldyck versus Crow, or not Crollo, versus Hisoka, the magician, right? So we have these two characters going against each other. They'll be fighting in York, New City. We're using the anime version, right? I know the people who read the manga and like it. I want to get into reading the manga too, because like there's certain things that people are talking about that are piquing my interest, right? But we ain't using that for this battle, bro. This is only the anime, all right, ladies and gentlemen. We're only using that, right? So knowing that, going into it, let's get into it. And they're fighting in York, New City, right? Strength goes to Silva Zodic. I mean, look at that guy. He's strong. You know, we know what he did to that Chimera ant. What's his name? Chitu. Chitu was moving around crazy, like, oh yeah, you can't get me this and that. He's running his fucking mouth, and Zeno's just like, oof, my son's about to fucking, and sure enough, Silva was there and flattened him. You know, I'm gonna say this. I know that you know any strike that he has is gonna do damage to Hisoka. Striking power is definitely there, and lifting power is definitely there too. Now, speed, I'm gonna give that shit to um Silva. In Crollo, or not Crollo, but Hisoka, he's one of those guys who he's a little bit shifty too. Against like weaker opponents like Togari, but Togari isn't a Zoldyck member, right? He ain't a member of the Zoldyck clan or the Zoldyck family. These these guys move with speed and precision because they're assassins, right? They gotta strike fast and disappear, much like ninja. They know about shit like that. you know, and Hisoka's, quick or whatever, but this guy, he's fast too. We give the durability also to Silva Zoldyck, right? Anything that Hisoka has is he can do damage to Silva over a span of time, but initial attacks ain't gonna do much to him. He can basically block that shit. Endurance wise, I actually give it to Hisoka though, because we've seen Hisoka fight a lot longer in his battles than we've seen Silva fight in his battles. Silva, again, he's an assassin, so he tries to finish these fights quick. He never wants to be in a long, drawn out fight because he knows he's probably, not, he don't have the advantage. But that's, you can give that to Silva if you want to. But we have seen Hisoka in the anime be in longer fights. Um, Intellect wise, I'm giving that shit to Hisoka. He knows his Nen abilities really well, right? He knows ins and outs, and he's confident in his abilities. If he had to fight somebody strong like Silva, he would know that he couldn't fuck around and play games. He can't, like, treat it like he's fighting Gon or Killua, somebody who's younger. He has to actually be serious. Experience-wise, though, that goes to Silva. He's the head of the Zoldyck family. He's been doing that business, you know, for his whole life. And he's like, 40, 50 years old, something like that. This guy is about his shit, right? Close skills wise, I'm giving that shit to Silva. He has the hands out of both of them. And Hisoka has hands too, but out of the two, yeah, man, I'm giving that shit to Silva. Range skills, I'm giving that shit to Hisoka because he has bungee gum, the properties of gum and rubber. So he can use that, and that will be effective, right? Um, I think that, um, goddamn, I think that Hisoka could probably, slow him down with it at least. Like I said, we know that raw strength wise, Silva has that, but Hisoka could still pull him in or at least trip him up, at least stop him from running as fast as he does, right? And that's gonna keep him in the fight. Hacks wise or recovery wise, I give it to Hisoka, right? I give that to him. Yeah. Anyways, recovery, I give that to Hisoka. I give the I give the okay, so he has texture surprise, right? So he can, if he gets his arms ripped off or something, because they ain't as durable, he can still put him back on, mid fight, But it's not an end all be all. It's one of those things like he can fight a little longer and other thing. Hacks, I'll give it to Soka, um, based upon the fact that his ability is has the properties of rubber and gum. And it's you can do a lot with that. It's pretty versatile, and I ain't saying that it's gonna save him from you know an attack from Silva, that blast attack, but I think it could though. Some type of like layer of that around his body could save him to some degree. you know so I'll give it to him. But the environment, I give that shit to Silva, Zoldyck. With that being said, I got Hisoka losing this fight. Extreme difficulty. Silva Zoldyck wins this fight. At first I thought Hisoka could win because he's smart and he's taking the fight seriously. But this man hits hard and he hits fast. And I think that, Hisoka can, make the fight last longer. I didn't say he couldn't make the fight last longer. And he could evade those attacks for, a little bit. But when it comes time to, actually, mm, I think it's going to be Silva who's, standing. The manga Hisoka is a different character. He's, apparently he's, moving differently in the manga. But as of the anime, I have to give that shit to Silva. But be cool, Kwa, in the corner, and let me know what you think about that in the comments below.